These are the short escapades from the brain place. Brain place. The place of the brain. You'll have to bear with me because these stories were hand delivered to me, sort of third hand, by a man with a kazoo. And I don't have a kazoo. So you'll just have to pretend that there's a kazoo. This is the story of Eddy Legs, or one of the stories of Eddy Legs. Anyway, his name is Eddy Legs. I mean, that's not a nickname. That's just his surname. He's got legs like everybody else. Not like everybody else. He's got 3 legs, but one of them is invisible. I mean, you'll never see it. Nobody's ever seen it. He wears trousers like you and I. If you wear trousers, you might wear a skirt. You still wouldn't see it though. But this is the story of Eddy Legs and the hotel. So Eddy Legs, he's got a criminal record. He served some time in prison. It was about 46 minutes, actually. It doesn't matter why he went to prison. It has something to do with a cattle market and fleecing Starbucks out of points. But that doesn't matter. That's for another time. But this is the story about the hotel. So I'm explaining this sort of third hand. I said fourth hand, I guess, really, because it was told to me by a man who knew a man who knew another man who knew a man called Eddy Legs. Here we go. So Eddy Legs, he was on a trip back from a cattle market, actually, sort of in East Anglia, sort of mid to sort of west east, sort of central, rural, urbanised, mid-centre. You probably live there. You'll know there's a lot of cattle markets around that area. Anyway, he was coming back from this long haul trip. It was about 10 minutes. It wasn't that long, but it seemed like an eternity because his third leg, the invisible one, kept getting in the way of the accelerator. So he was having to be really slow. It kept knocking on the brake, which was awkward. Anyway, he was driving back, and he figured, oh, I need a bit of a kip. I need some sleep. So he went past a hotel. It was in England, so it's a hotel, but it was called a motel. He figured sort of subliminally that was people sort of getting to him about the cattle incident, a motel. But he forgot about that fairly quickly. He was tired, so he decided to step in to this hotel, and the innkeeper sort of wasn't there at first. So he was Eddy Legs. He was dinging the bell. Nothing. He waited sort of 10 minutes. And a little voice came from behind the counter and said, "Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you. I'm just doing some work." So he sort of peered over, and this guy was fiddling around with a fax machine. Couldn't get it to work. The sockets have changed in the last sort of 46 years, and he couldn't get it in. He's trying to hammer it in with a toothbrush, but didn't work. Anyway, he was like, "What do you want?" Eddy Legs was like, "Well, I need somewhere to sleep for the night." Little motel man was like, "Yeah, I've got a room." Eddy Legs said, "What? You're really small. Why are you so small?" He said, "Well, I'm a gnome." So I'm going to be pronouncing gnome as gnome, just because, well, that's how the story was delivered to me by the man with the kazoo. So he said, "I'm a gnome." Oh, all right, okay, all right, that's fine. He said, "What about that room anyway? Have you got one? Because I'm pretty tired." He said, Yeah, I got a room." So he took him down sort of a long corridor. Rooms on the left, rooms on the right. Then he took a left, and then turned right, and then left again. And they were just rooms just down the left-hand side. A bit weird, but just down the left. And then there was one right at the end, a room right at the end. And Eddy Legs said, I'll take that room at the end. No, said the Gnome. You can't have that room. What? Why? Is there somebody staying in it? Probably. He said, what do you mean, probably? He said, I want to stay in that one. It looks like it could be more spacious. He said, no, he said, you'll have this one. He said, it's the old cleaner's cupboard. There's a bed in there and a sink, which only pours out green water. Green water? He said, yeah. That's fine. It's all safe. You can drink it. All right, okay then. So he gave him the key, took him into this tiny little room. Single bed. He had to sort of crouch in it and stand up as well. Really weird. He said, this will do just for one night's sleep, I suppose. And the Gnome said, no, he said it will do for a month's worth of sleep if you want to sort of sleep for a month. But you probably don't. You've probably got things to do. So here's the key. And he was on his way out. And the Gnome said, oh, by the way, if you hear any weird noises in the night, just stay put. Just stay in here. Don't leave. And he said, well, if Eddy Legs said, if it's loud, though, I'm going to want to check it out. He said, no, just don't do that. Just sleep. Just stay where you are. So he said, all right. A few hours passed, and it was approaching probably just after midnight, maybe. It heard some weird clunking and elated screaming and a tap running. He thought it might be his tap, so he turned his light on and had a look. No green water coming out. He was really curious, so he put on his poncho and he left the room. And there were like four rooms leading up to this one right at the end. And he thought, well, it's echoed. I don't know if it's coming from there, he thought to himself, but I'll just check all these rooms anyway. So he started with the first one on the left, opened it with ease, nothing in there, not a sausage. So he closed it. Went to the next room, a little bit harder to open, slightly jammed, pushed it open. There was a sausage in there. It was behind the door. Thought nothing of it. He just thought, oh, there we go. There is a sausage. Goes to the third one on the left. Really, really hard to open. But he managed to get it open. There's a can of peas in there. A tin of peas. Garden peas. Not the mushy kind, just normal garden peas. Thought nothing of it. Fourth room. Sort of has a wiggle on that. It comes open. Opens up with ease. Nothing in the way there. Just a bed with a plastic sheet on it. And urine on the floor. He thought it was urine. Didn't want to taste it though. Because he figured, well, if it is urine, I don't want to be tasting urine. So he closed that door. And the next door he goes to, I think it was the fifth one, opens that again with ease. There was a sausage in there on the bed, on plastic sheets. No urine this time, but there was a sausage on the bed with a can of peas. Thought, oh, could be breakfast tomorrow. That's fine. So he picked them up and put them in his pocket, and he leaves. And he goes to the final room at the end. Tries to open it, couldn't. It just wouldn't budge. He tried everything. He threw a can of peas at it. He threw the sausage at it. He tried to put the sausage into the sort of keyhole. Nothing. He tried to have a look through the keyhole, but there was bits of sausage in there, so he couldn't see anything. But he saw flashing lights from underneath the doorway. Just didn't know what it was. This weird elated screaming, the clunking and the banging. He just couldn't sleep. He went back to his room, tried to get some rest, couldn't. Wake up at like 5, 6 in the morning. And he goes to the innkeeper. He says, yeah, he said, that noise, he said, you told me about, he said, that did keep me up. He said, I've had no sleep. He said, now I need to drive without sort of having had any sleep. And the Gnome said, well, he said, that's not my problem. I said, just stay in your room. You probably would have got some sleep if you'd used the peas that I left under your bed. He said, as earplugs, you'd be all right. I didn't know there were peas under the bed. I said, well, you got a tin of them in your pocket. I can see that there. No, they were from another room. Oh, you can't be stealing peas, he said, from other rooms. He said, you'll have to put them back. He said, no, he said, on second thought, he said, I'll put them back. He said, have your own peas. I'll go collect them for you. So he did. He collected Eddy's peas from under his bed, which he didn't know were there, and put the other peas back, and he comes back. And Eddy Legs says to the Gnome, he says, look, can you tell me what that noise was? He said, no, I can't tell you. He said, it's top secret. He said, it's a Gnome secret. He's like, well, how do I find out about this Gnome secret? He said, well, you're going to have to go to sort of Gnome school and Gnome college and get a degree from the Gnome University of Gnoming. Wyoming? No, he said Gnoming. The University of Gnoming. So it's just on the Norfolk coast. Oh, okay. All right. So Eddy Legs drives back safely. His third leg was really tired, just wasn't getting in the way, so he didn't. Yeah, he was absolutely fine. Everything was okay. And this story sort of plays on him. What happened for a couple of years. So he decides to go to Gnome school, Gnome college. He passed that with a merit. He got A stars at Gnome school, and he goes to Gnome University on the Norfolk coast, and he gets like a first in Gnome school, the Gnome University School of Gnoming. And he thinks to himself, about 7 years later, he says, I'm going to go back to that motel, if it's still there, the motel. So he does. And he says to the innkeeper, the Gnome, says, I was here about 7 years ago. Oh, yeah, I remember. He said, yeah, he said, I want that room that I stayed in. Oh, okay, the little cupboard. Yeah, the little cupboard. Okay. All right. So he rests up for the night, and the Gnome says, he said, if you hear anything weird in the night from the room down at the end, he said, don't think anything of it. Just stay in your room. Don't leave. You left last time. You tried to steal some peas. The reason I nearly said beans there was because the peas have been changed to beans now. Anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. So he rests up in his room, looks underneath his bed that's attached to the wall, so he sleeps standing up, and he sees a tin of beans in there. He thought, they've upgraded. Brilliant stuff. I like beans. So anyway, a few hours pass. He's managed to get a bit of rest this time. I guess because it's because of his Gnome education. So some noises start happening, some clunking, some weird elated screaming happens, and he figures it's probably from the last room. Anyway, he leaves his room. He's put his poncho on again. He's put on a bit of weight though, so it looks more like a scarf now. He puts it on, leaves his room, goes to the first door on the left, opens it with ease. Tin of beans and a sausage on the bed. Brilliant, he thought. That'll be someone's breakfast. If there was someone staying in it, that'd be their breakfast for tomorrow. He goes to the second room. Again, sausage, beans, no people in there, no noise, nothing happening. Goes to the third door. Again, opens that one with ease. Brilliant, nothing there, apart from the beans and the sausage. Goes to the fourth room and the fifth room. Beans, sausage, nobody in there. Opens both the doors with ease. Goes to the final door right at the end of the corridor. And he figures, I'm probably going to have some difficulty with this one. He threw the tin of beans at it. It was under his bed. And a bang came back from the other side. He threw his sausage at the door. Another sausagey sort of slapping sound came from the other side. I thought, oh wow, that's amazing. Like I'm communicating with whatever is behind that door. So he opens the door with ease, and he says to himself, wow, this is absolutely amazing. It's wonderful. This is brilliant. I've never seen anything like this before. And guess what he saw? You would not believe what he saw. I mean, I can't tell you because you're not a gnome. You need to go to Gnome School and Gnome College and Gnome University up on the Norfolk coast. You need to pass out effectively as a gnome before I can tell you what you saw. But once you've done all that, come back. I'll tell you all about it.